Welcome to Coastside Poetry. Thanks to those of you who zoomed in and those who are watching on YouTube. We meet virtually on the second Tuesday of every month to celebrate our spoken poetry. I'm Diane Moomey, your host for this evening. Our featured poet event is being recorded and streamed live onto YouTube as we speak, so anyone can look at it later. We'll be posting the link on our website, coastsidepoetry.org. This evening, we welcome Lucia Coppola. Lucia is an English second language teacher, originally from New York, and has lived in France and California. Her teaching and creative work is inspired by nature, storytelling, music, and dance. She enjoys using a variety of media to engage people in learning and artistic expression, making connections, sharing ideas, and celebrating life. Her work has been read on the radio, published online, in print, and is the soundtrack for 2 short films. Her books include Talking with Trees and Tempo. You can visit her at luciacoppolapoetry.com. Please welcome Lucia.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and I've enjoyed coming other times to these poetry readings. I enjoy this group very much, so I'll look forward to hearing all of your poems afterwards, and I thank you for coming out to hear me today. I'm going to be reading from my 2 books, Talking with Trees and Tempo, and then I'll share just a little bit of what I'm working on right now, some new work. I thought I would try it out this evening with you. So I'm going to start with Talking with Trees. So this is Talking with Trees, which was written around 2009 and 2010 when I was living in France. And I mention this because my work is very deeply attached to place and time. So where I live, and the nature of it, but also the people that surround me in that place, and also the history of the place are all very important to my way of thinking, not only in terms of my creative work, but also in terms of my own life and just how I'm seeing things in the world. So I'm going to start with a poem called Rocks. And this poem came out of actually a conversation that I had with my father a few years before he died. I was in France and I was speaking with him on the phone. He was in New York. And I was explaining to him something about what nature really means to me in terms of the deep meaning of nature for me. And we had a very interesting conversation that went on for quite some time. And then, not long after that, I wrote this poem called Rocks. So I'm going to read it to you now. Rocks. If you listen to them carefully, you may hear the most extraordinary things. They need to be coaxed into it and arranged in particular ways, but usually they manage all by themselves. They only seem dumb because they're not good movers, though they vibrate continuously. Bones and branches are similar but less solid, marrowed with light as opposed to reflecting it. The language is more like living dance than some arcane forgotten chant. This is why roots of trees creep under rocks and fingers and toes into sand. The melody finds harmony with its base. Sifting through the silt by the banks of a river, we may find gold, but it takes a bit of leverage, patience, and concentration. The mechanical gesture requires more alchemy than good luck. Once I found a roundish green rock in the shallow current of a stream. It was beautifully polished and resembled a Buddha. It had a little cave for a mouth that chanted Om, and in that Om there was a place that smelled of the earth and of springtime. So I lay down in that green until the fall of the night, watched a firefly nearby, and saw the iridescent sparks of its wings present as stars in the sky. In that moment, the stars were a choir singing Hallelujah up above, and the firefly a fairy dancing here below. I weighed the possibility they might be pretending what they're not, that the star may be nothing but a clump of dust and the firefly a bug. Or maybe they're exactly what they would have us believe, or maybe a mixture of both. These are the thoughts I laid down in the grass next to me. Then I fell asleep and dreamed. Without alchemy, dreams vanish into air. But if we look, we'll find a color, a smell, a certain walk or laugh or smile. Hands, eyes, and the texture of skin are not forgotten, but etched into oneself. They're proof that nothing is illusory about the enchantment of a rock. The crypt, the well, the church atop a mountain, suspended in the sky, rocks, the very substance of our dreams, real as the empty howl of night. From ashes and dust, they rumble and mumble and roar, crystalline forms of varying densities. Listen, and you may hear them. From out of the dust, they say, Amen. So now I'm going to read a poem called River, and the river is the River Seine. And so this poem really, I think, talks about not just getting to know this river and feeling close to it, but also thinking about the tremendous history behind the river and how it informs just walking along the banks of the Seine. The way we view it is just so much informed by all that passage of time that came before. So this is the river. It's about time, about this river whose tree-lined banks we've ambled along with its barges, buildings, and bridges. It's about seagulls flying in deft alignment along its corridor in spring, and about the song that an accordionist plays here along this same river as it ripples and flows. There's something nostalgic in the shifting muddy waters of a river, something of memory and change and right now. History is one thing. It begins long ago in the Bronze Age with Gaul settlements in earthen huts and flows past Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower. It begins at its source in the Alps and flows into an estuary at the Channel between England and France. From its banks we carry back many things which, like the skins of fish, are discarded, though beautiful. And then there's memory. The original settlers recorded their world in a prism of trees. They had a secret language called Ockham, which was spoken using fingers as letters to communicate about the body and the seasons. We are constantly retrieving odd things from the past as we amble along with the persistent river's flow. We dive down into the silt with our thoughts and then emerge as if to align them like the lindens and poplars and planes along the Seine. This is what we're doing when we journey down to these banks, and one thing always leads to another. The sound of a siren, a foghorn, an accordion, even the rustle of leaves is evocative here, and this is where history and memory briefly disconnect and recombine in the feeling of what's present. Just now, as the accordionist plays, it makes less of a picture than an impression. It's a community dance on the banks of the Seine just after the Second World War in late spring. Lanterns are strung around a linden tree. There are tables and chairs and many people of all ages dancing. There's an ambiance of gaiety that affirms itself with their steps on the post-war gravel beneath their feet. And a woman and a man are gazing into each other's eyes. They share the same glass of wine. They're dressed up, though simply. She wears a red dress with a delicate floral pattern. Her sandals are high-heeled but worn. He wears a white shirt that's tucked into his trousers with a belt. The shirt is slightly wrinkled and the cuffs are rolled up. They're young and look into one another's eyes with such desire that everything else recedes into a lantern-lit haze. This is the picture. Although the exact time and place are impossible to recall, I know it's somewhere by the river, and I try to imagine who the man and woman are. The look in her eyes is so familiar that I wonder if she couldn't be me. The feeling is such that I'm not sure if it's a memory or a wish, and the accordion plays. Ce dont je me souviens, c'est qu'ils étaient heureux, les yeux au fond des yeux, et c'était bien. Yes, it was good. So now I'd like to read from Tempo. So this book, Tempo, and you can see this is Tomales Bay, actually. It's a picture of Tomales Bay, where I spent a lot of time walking. I wrote this book when I moved to California after 2020. And one of the things that struck me about moving to California was that just the nature of it was so different from what I was accustomed to in France. But also, it was a time when more and more we were talking about climate change, and I was very more than ever aware of just the environmental disaster that was going on all around us, and California being such a magnificently beautiful state. So there were many thoughts about that were occurring, and I wrote a poem called I wrote several poems that talk about the environment, but this one is called Dragon. And so, just a funny anecdote about dragon is that I feel a certain affinity with dragons. My mother's maiden name is Drago, which in Italian means dragon. So I do feel as if I sort of understand dragons. I have a kind of a cosmic connection with them. But in this poem, the dragon is not my mother. The dragon is more like our mother in terms of Mother Earth, Gaia, our mother. So, and this is what happens, I think, when we harm her dragon. The man runs through the forest toward the stream. Out of breath, he holds a bloody hand to his heart. Years of escaping high tides, heavy rainfall, the city. He doesn't see me, but from the field I see his pace weaken, and I see that she is chasing him. A hurricane blast of a harridan's spray with jagged green scales propelling the darkening day. Does he know she's coming? Does he see her there? I remember him from when he was a child. He played in the playground like me, and she was a beauty, showed promise as a folk singer with magic dragon songs. That was before the downtown job made her weary from sweat and fog, before pipelines and trawlers fracked her out of a home and into the sea. How else could it be with those schemes they'd devised to foreclose on other people's dreams? That's when slime developed on her hands and knees, when the boss stopped paying her a living wage and his yearly taxes. That's when we knew we were doomed, we bug-eyed tadpoles that had sprouted from her womb in one form or another. Dragons shift shape with tides and seasons. This one's from New York Harbor, Singapore, Ann Arbor. All of her kind would be stars if the waters had drifted otherwise, if we, her children, had watched out for her and seen the sludge-encrusted claws grow with the urban sprawl and the Leviathan's roar she suppressed, though she had sent warnings to us nicely with a seaweed-tainted smile about limits to growth, she was saying for a while. If only we hadn't abandoned her in a mire of unopened bills and letters, the smell of urine on her legs, sour, as she went slumping sluggishly into the harbor, ankles bloating and nursing her wounds, this mother of ours. Out from the woods the man approaches now. He carries a boy that carries a toy, a wooden sword that looks ready for battle. He falls to his knees and feels the breeze of northern glaciers melting. The dragon's breath rolls in on the grass toward the stream with a language born of betrayal and an even louder primal scream. Unsuspecting, he washes off the sweat and blood, cups his hands, and gives water to the child. "What are you going to do?" I implore. "Nothing," he says. "Camp here for a while, then tomorrow go farther." And that's when the winds of her anger blow even harder. He understands nothing, she roars, and everywhere it pours. So now I'd like to read something on a lighter note. This is a memory of long ago, when I was a child. I used to go to my grandparents' house, my adorable Italian grandparents in White Plains, New York, which is a very green suburb just outside of the city. And one weekend I was there, and I had brought a little friend from school. She came to spend the weekend with me, and my grandfather had raked a huge pile of autumn leaves. And my friend and I, Tracy is her name, we spent the weekend just carrying on in those leaves. And we had so much fun. And at one point, my grandfather, I think it was, took a picture of us. And I found that picture just a few years ago, at my mother's house. And I was just so struck by it. And then I ended up writing this poem. So the poem is called Green. She-wolf, mongrel, urchin girls on a pile of newly raked leaves, as if just graduated from childhood, our 11 years squinting into the overcast day, thoughts hazy as chocolate powder stirred up in the cup, clever at chimerical readings of fortunes in each other's palms, talk of God, still very much in the clouds, though soon our faces would search in embers at the fireside, the way to admit, wanting to study the Gospels and the Psalms, to know that truth in Aramaic is sharira and emet in Hebrew, the hope that nothing stay hidden past the smoke back at the time of fallen leaves. How you would always beat me at tic-tac-toe and I would wear a green sweater my grandmother had knitted for me. How your jeans looked like hand-me-downs from your brothers. But most importantly, how good we were at cartwheels, walkovers, and playing hide and seek when it rained, games of chance or jacks, and inventing dances in the bleak sun and chill that weekend in White Plains, where bare branches drew jagged lines on the sky, crossed paths with crows that chanted plaintively what neither you, Tracy, nor I barely noticed back then, and here now faintly echoed in the memory of our girlhood, long and tangled hair, those leaves all over the ground, on the cusp of blowing into rusted watering cans, by the patio with rain and silt, of something becoming new, and with the distant rush of the Sprainbrook Parkway, modern river at Jericho, clear and running over, we had not yet begun to experiment with color, contrasting red and black as winter would struggle with the allure of purple playfully, biting its tail in search of verity. And little did we know just then, seated as we were on that pile of leaves that Sunday, as the photo was being taken of us, that never would we ever again be so green. So Now I'd like to read a newer poem, and so I've been writing poems that have a character which I called Frog that keeps kind of creeping in, and I'm enjoying this very much. I think that particularly since the atmosphere right now for me is quite, I find very dreary, what's going on in the world right now. And so this character Frog has arrived, and I think is bringing a certain amount of levity into what I'm writing right now. So I want to share it with you. Um, this poem is called The Frog Prince. So the princess loses the golden ball in the pool of a spring. A typical, clumsy, rich teenage girl thing to do. We know teenage girls are not famous for their ability to keep track of things such as balls of gold, and they do find the murky waters by the shade of the greenwood shed engaging, particularly when the frogs sing ribbit, ribbit. But the difference with this girl and the other princesses with the blue eyes and golden braids is that this one wears clogs and a bonnet revealing some groove in her gait, as well as a blend of humility and swag in the dorky fashion style, snapping fingers to the beat of ribbit, ribbit. She would never get cheap with plumping tricks that make the other girls' faces look frankly hemorrhoidal, even though they think they're pretty, like plastic dolls. No, this one just knows how to jive with the vibe of the frogs and brings one into her bed, which makes all the difference. When he turns into a prince and the wedding bells ring, now everyone joins in when the ribbit ribbits sing. And it has a second part. Of course, the princess's father did fleetingly think that she could have made a better catch than that bulgy-eyed frog. After all, she had her pick of suitors in that land. But the king believed a promise is a promise, and the frog had made good on his part to fetch the gold for the girl. So both king and daughter heard the message loud and clear. Knock, knock, my princess dear, open to your true love here, and mind the words that you and I said by the fountain cool near the greenwood shed. As it happens, the princess liked the frog's woodsy style with the Nirvana t-shirt, the 3-day beard, and probably she could imagine some good love and fun in bed once she got used to his intense earthiness. Somehow she knew that the musky kiss of the frog would be better than that of an unsocial, high-tech creep. So she opened the door when the frog said knock, knock, and they lived happily ever after. So did the kingdom, by the way, which became joyous and prospered. So that's pretty much what I've prepared for you all. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
Lucia. Thank you so much. Wow. I'm going to suggest that we all unmute and make lots of nice noise and comments and good things. Thank you so much. Wow.
Lucia, that is really marvelous work, and you read very well as well. I have, as I often do, already ordered both of your books.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's really nice to hear. Thank you.
I look forward to receiving and reading them.
Oh,
I enjoyed it all, Lucia. Um, Loved the stone one, the stone with the little cave. That was the really captured me. But I'd love that you ended with these modern fairy tales. I think that's really
Mhm.
needed right now.
Yep.
oh, good. I'm glad you think
Absolutely.
so because it's been
Yeah.
kind of on my mind for a while. And yeah,
Thank you for that, for bringing them back. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Mhm.
I need to find a
Beautifully
pile of
crafted,
leaves.
and the frog is just
what we need, just what we need right now.
Yeah, and I've always liked frogs. It's funny, but when with the demonstrations in Portland and that image of the frog kept coming up, it just once again just sparked my imagination, and I just thought, the frog is so potent symbolically, and I'm actually writing a lot of frog poems right now.
That was the first thing I thought of when you mentioned the frog was Portland, where my son and grandkids live. And
Oh,
I also remember jumping in piles of leaves in Northern Virginia when I was a child. My dad raking them up, and all of us kids in the neighborhood jumping and rolling and shoving each other's faces into the leaves. That was wonderful.
yeah, yeah. Those are wonderful memories. Such wholesome fun that
I can
children.
still smell it. Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I saw a beautiful frog. Did you all see the frog? Who showed?
Yes,
Yeah.
saw the frog. Thank you, Peggy, for bringing the
Oh, thank
frog.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, well, again, thank you so much, Lucia. We'll stop recording in a moment. Those of you in the Zoom room, please stay online if you'd like to take part in the open mic. Thanks to all our YouTube listeners. Please tune in for our next regular Coastside Poetry event on Tuesday, February 10th, when we'll welcome Abby Kaplan as our feature. So thanks again for joining us at Coastside Poetry and for helping to keep the lamps of poetry burning.